Welcome into Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside Jerel. Hendricks got a great interview today for our ring season recap series. A very special guest, the head coach of the 2024 2A state champion Clinton Red Devils, Corey Fountain. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate your time. We really do. If this is you guys' first time tuning in, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter/X, Instagram, YouTube, and more at Movin Chains, movinchains.com, our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. This was Coach Fountain's sixth season as the head coach of the Red Devils. They went 12-2 on their way to the 2A state title. Coach, we've seen you guys play quite a bit the last couple of years, and it seems like even though maybe some of the players may change, the names and faces may change, your identity stays the same. For folks who maybe haven't seen you guys play, what would you really consider maybe your styles on both sides of the football?
I think we want to be physical. We want to play fast. We want to get after you on every phase of the game, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams. A lot of that's built in the weight room. So we try to hammer it in the weight room, grind in the weight room, and just be ready on game days on Friday nights.
Coach, this past season, you guys scored 40 on offense, gave up 19 on defense. We know it's about the X's and O's, but the Jimmies and Joes are more important. Who are some guys that kind of led you on that state title run?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to tell you, I've been doing this for 21 years, and it's about the players, man. You can be a great coach. You can be the best, the smartest coach, have the smartest coaching staff, but if you don't have guys that can go out there and execute the game plan and a work mentality, you're not going to be successful. And part of that's staying healthy too. Guys like Tashawn Richardson, our quarterback, to me, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the state of South Carolina, just with his ability to see the field and make one guy miss, extend the plays, get the ball down the field. He did a great job reading on our quarterback read runs, whether it's counter read or we were doing power read. He just did a phenomenal job all year. And our offensive line, all year long, they were back for a second year altogether with Trey Aiken, Ryan Gordon. We had Clayton Lawson at the beginning. He got hurt at the end, and Jared Honeycutt stepped in at right guard. And then left guard, we had Hunter Lawson and then Cal Pitts. Those guys, man, you win and lose big games in the trenches.
Coach, what about that defensive side too? You guys, you mentioned you had 19 points per game. Who are some guys that stood out on that side of the football?
Yeah, you got Luke Young, who also plays baseball. His brother Brett Young has been a staple for us. An undersized kid, so to speak, for college. Everybody, doesn't have many offers because he's small, but he can play football. And you hate it now that everybody just looks at metrics. They just look, hey, this kid has to be 6 foot for this position. His wingspan needs to be this. But Brett Young gets after it on the defensive side of the ball. Chris Boyd, as our weak safety, did a phenomenal job this year. We'll have him back next year. Austin Boyd and Bryson Perrin stepped in at corner. We lost some corners, 2 senior corners, and they stepped in this year. And they got better as the year went on. And then Mason Tinsley on the other free safety on the back half also did a great job for us this year. Up front, Daryl Swindler was one of the mainstays on the defensive line. And then I mentioned Clayton Lawson on offense. Well, at the end of the year, he only played defense because he had hurt his knee, but he battled back and did a great job all year long on the defensive side of the ball as well.
Staff continuity is a big thing as far as building a program and sustaining success and, just having great assistants in general. Who are some guys that you want to shout out with your program? Because you've been able to keep that staff together for a while and obviously have some great coaches under you.
Yeah, so when I came in, there was some turnover, hired some new guys, brought in some guys. The next year, Coach Maggs went he was our defense coordinator at the time. He went on to another place and was able to get Ethan Campbell, has done a great job for us since my second year here. Coach Louis Alexander, who is our offensive coordinator and athletic director, has done a great job of calling plays on Friday nights and getting us in a great position. And then, all of our coaches, I feel like God puts a group of guys together, and he did a great job of putting our instrument and this coaching staff together and been fortunate to have them all. Peyton Spangler has been our special teams coordinator this year, does a phenomenal job on special teams. And then all of our assistants, Jake Williams, Tosh Corley, all those guys. Clay Cotney was a new addition this year as a receiver coach. Dontavius Glenn, he's the head JV coach, does a phenomenal job with them. And then he also helps orchestrate all the moving parts, because we do a lot of shifts. We do a lot of personnel changes, and he helps orchestrate that on the sideline. All of our coaches just do a phenomenal job with our kids. And first and foremost, they build great relationships with our kids, and then they're able to coach them hard, and that's important.
Coach, looking back to 2023, you guys lost really a heartbreaker to Belton Honea Path late in the playoffs there, 27-24. Were you guys able to use that kind of to fuel your team going into offseason workouts of, hey, we want to get past this level next year, and use that really as a rallying cry for 2024?
I think anytime you fall short, you use that as a rallying cry for the next year. And it seemed like we just kept falling short. We fell short to Powdersville. We fell short to BHP. Getting so close, but you feel so far away, and you always try to look at things that's going to help improve your team. And I really, going into last all season, I was like, I don't know if we can work any harder. Our guys work, man. They grind. Our coaches work long hours, and they put in a lot of work. And so we tried to build the kids from the inside out. I brought in a character coach. We were trying to build the kids, up, build leaderships. We did leadership teams. Divided the guys up. They had to take ownership of 12 guys. We had 8 guys taking ownership of 12 guys. And I think that helped out a lot with those guys taking ownership in their team, and just trying to build them from the inside out. And we were able to, use that, and then just the hard work and staying healthy. Staying healthy is a big part of any success on the football field. You've got to have your dudes in those games, those crunch time games at the end of the year.
Clinton is obviously one of the most recognizable programs in the state, a premier program here in South Carolina. And you guys, with realignment and all that stuff going on this year, really had a big target on your back, especially with your recent success and the historic success. What was it like keeping your guys motivated week in and week out to dominate, because you really did throughout the majority of this season?
Well, I think it helped out. We got smacked in the mouth in the week 0 by Woodruff. So that helped us. That motivated us for the rest of the season. And then you think you get it going, and then you get smacked in the mouth by Daniel. Tashawn came out at halftime. So they jumped three scores to 0 scores in the third quarter, kind of pulled away. Playing a really good team, playing good competition, man, helps motivate your kids. And that was important for us, playing a really tough non-conference schedule. And our guys were resilient through that. I was hoping we would stay healthy, and they did. But there is a target. To me, Clinton already has a lot of pressure, and turning this program around, man, it had been in some low points, and so getting it turned back around was tough. But there's still an expectation here that you're going to win championships, and there was already 8-1, and then. You move down to 2A, and the pressure actually increases from the people in the town and the community and the school. Oh, y'all are winning state now. There's no doubt. And really, it's one game at a time. We're trying to go 1-0 at practice every day. We're trying to go 1-0 every week. And that's the mentality I try to drill in these guys' heads, man. We're taking this. You got to stack wins at practice. You got to stack wins in the weight room. And that's your preparation and the journey is what's going to ultimately lead to the success.
Coach, looking back at the state championship game in itself, a 35-6 win over Barnwell out of the lower state. Some things we'll get to here in a minute, but you guys racked up, I think, 312 rushing yards, over 300, whatever that number was there. We know that you want to run the ball. We know that's kind of your style there. But when you guys watched film leading up to the game, did you see something that said, hey, we can really dominate up front and kind of had those big numbers like we did?
All year long. I mean, that's been our mantra. That's been our mantra since I've been here. We rush the ball about, I don't know, anywhere from 75 to 80% of the time, and we throw big plays. Like, we're going to big play you on the outside because you got to go man to man. You got to use your safeties to stop the run game, and that's just who we are. When we had a good offensive line, we knew we did going into this year, and those guys pretty much for the most part stayed healthy. We had some guys go in and out. Cal Pitts got hurt during region. we were able to move some parts around, and he came back in the playoffs, and then Clayton got hurt. We moved some parts around, but up front is where we were strong. Running backs like Javen Cook, who's just super explosive. Rhett Gillum, who's a sophomore, he's a power back, and he's going to pound you in between the tackles. But we just try to use our strengths, man. If we knew we could throw it every time and catch the ball 80% of the time and move it down the field, we do that. But our MO is we like to run the rock.
Good. You mentioned big plays, a perfect seg for us. I mean, when I got down to Orangeburg, I couldn't get in the stadium good before the fireworks started. I mean, you guys have a 77-yard run by your quarterback, Deshaun Richardson, there to start the game. But Barnwell takes the ensuing kickoff back for a touchdown. What is that like on the sideline between your coaches and your players? Because it had to have had a lot of energy. And, how do you guys get settled down and really get into the game after those big plays occur?
Well, I think, you hit a big run like that, you kind of can get overconfident. So them having that quick score settles you in really quick and doesn't give you the big head. And then it's just, okay, we hit them in the mouth, they hit us in the mouth. Who's going to continue to hit the other person in the mouth and move forward? And who's going to have the most resilience in this game? And we talk about that all the time. Just keep throwing punches. And our guys did a great job of that. And they settled in. I thought defensively, it's probably one of the best games we had all year. The pressure that we were able to put on the quarterback with the different blitzes and stunts that Coach Campbell loves to do. And they settled in and played a great game, and only giving up that touchdown on special teams was huge.
Yeah, you mentioned it. No touchdowns allowed, held Barnwell to 155 yards, I believe, for the game. What did y'all do so well on that side of the football in that matchup?
I just think, we were able to use that pressure and put pressure on them that they hadn't seen all year, that the quarterback hadn't had that. He's used to a little bit more time than that, and Coach just heated him up. And our linebackers did a good job of coming from depth when they were trying to throw the screen game. We did a good job up front of stopping the run game. And then our secondary played really well. They missed a couple of balls deep, but we took advantage of it by pressuring them the next play or getting that stop. It was huge. A lot of fourth down stops, probably more fourth down stops than I've ever had in one football game.
Coach, we got lucky. We got to see a look in on your pregame speech, and you really hammered home the fact that a lot of your players had been overlooked. I mean, you mentioned, obviously, the measurables and things like that goes into a lot of recruiting and how scholarship offers are awarded these days. But how did you kind of use that as a rallying cry for your team, to really come together and especially put an exclamation point in the state title game?
Yeah, you just always look for ways to motivate your guys. And like I said, like Brett Young, great football player. When you play a state championship game, ain't nobody measuring your height before you go out on the field. They're not going to measure your wingspan before you go on the field. Go out there and ball out, man. Show them how Clinton High School plays football. Show them how we like to hit people in the mouth. And just do what you do. Do what you do. Been doing since you were a little kid, playing recreation football. And that's what I was trying to tell them, that no pressure. Just go out and have fun and get after it and show people you deserve to be out on this field.
Coach, you kind of mentioned it earlier, but, it felt like you guys have been really right on the cusp the last couple of years. You've had some key injuries and tough times for you. You get to the upper state title game, lose to Powdersville in a tough one. You lose a close one last year to BHP. And, this year you finally do kind of take home the crown there. How happy were you for this group who probably played in a lot of those games? A lot of these guys have had, seasoned vets there. How happy were you for them to be able to kind of claim this title here to cap off the 2024 season?
Yeah, we had a couple of guys, 2 or 3 guys that had played in that game versus Powdersville, and they knew what it takes. Just small plays that can matter in a game, and it's good to have those guys on your team and been vetted in those big games. And I thought, that game was a big game, but so is the Fairfield Central game, so is the Chester game. Those games leading up to the state championship, they were the real deal, man. I mean, that was a hard road. I think one of the hardest roads of any playoff run that I've been involved with, of just tough competition from the second round, third round, going into the state championship, I mean, our guys were battle tested, and I felt like that made a big difference, and we went into that state championship game healthy.
Coach, this is the 9th title in school history, your first one since 2009. You mentioned the ups and downs of this program and bringing them back. You have one of the best atmospheres and rabid fan bases in South Carolina high school football. Wilder Stadium's nuts. I don't think we'll ever be invited back there because you guys have had some close losses when we show up. But you guys brought a great crowd down to Orangeburg. You know, how important was it for that community? And I want to highlight it, too. You guys had some hardships, some adversity in the community this year with the hurricane and obviously the fire downtown. How special was it to wrap up this season and uplift the community with the state title?
Yeah, man, Wilder Stadium's electric. When everybody's packing out Wilder Stadium, there's probably not a better atmosphere in high school football. But, yeah, just having the fire downtown, you know, that was crazy. And then you had the hurricane, and the hurricane, it devastated this area. I was familiar with that kind of devastation from Hurricane Hugo back in 1989 when I was living in Lamar. I was like, this looks just like that. And I don't think this area has ever had a hurricane penetrate this far up into the upstate and in the North Carolina. And it was wild to see the damage and devastation. And you know, a lot of our guys rallied around the community as well, and they helped clean up the community. We had guys on our team that was helping deliver packages and water and things up the road to North Carolina. And that was just huge on their part and just, you know, trying to help support a community, a family type atmosphere. And I think football, we did some volunteer practices during that time, and football was a way to kind of like take their mind off of it. You know, we were able to give them some food. They came here, they could charge their stuff because our school had some power. And, you know, our community was able to rally around that and take their mind off of all the devastation and loss that a lot of people had with houses and property.
Coach, this was your third state title as a head coach, your first one here at Clinton, of course. But, you know, what will you, I guess, remember, you know, the most from this season and from this team, whether it's a game or a situation or whatever it is, but what will kind of really stick in your memory bank from this 2024 campaign?
You know, I just think every year it's a journey, and you're so happy for those seniors because you're not going to have them back anymore. You know, it's a final farewell, and you never want to go out on your last game with a loss, and being able to go out with that last game with a win, there's no better feeling. There really isn't. I tried to explain it to them, and then after the game, they're like, Coach, yeah, this is awesome. You know, and once you taste that as a coach, once you taste that as a player, I feel like, you know, it's easier to motivate them at times to work harder, you know, not to be complacent, not to be like, oh, we made it, you know, we're good, we're golden. You know, no need to work again next year. You know, you set the bar higher, and there's, you know, what's better than winning one state championship, winning two, winning three, you know, and just stacking them. Can you do that every year? Probably not. But we can work towards that every year and continue to have that same work mentality that these kids had when they're in the 7th grade, and they were looking at that team that went 4-7 that year. And, you know, that team that went 4-7, those 4 wins were hard. And you can ask this coaching staff that were here. Those 4 wins were really hard. But those kids, they worked like a champion. It didn't turn out that way. The next year, those kids worked. We only went 3-3. It was huge disappointment for me because I felt like we had better than a 3-3 team. But because of COVID, you could only play those region games. And so the guys that we start with oftentimes aren't always the guys we finish with, because we find out who's going to step up, who's going to make those plays. And that roster kind of changes. That starting lineup changes as you move into region. Well, that year we went 3-3, and we lost some close games by less than a touchdown. And that was frustrating. But everybody kept plugging away. Those 7th graders kept plugging away, 8th graders, 9th graders. And the work ethic built, and then the success started stacking based on just how much work they put in and the effort they put in, and the community and the parents that are willing to bring their kids and to keep putting positive messages into their kids like, hey, keep working. It's going to get there. You're going to close the gap. And then went from you're going to close the gap that you're close. It's not going to be long. And the guys believed that, and they just kept working. And there's no better feeling than winning that last game.
Well, this has been great. I want everyone to go check out Coach Fountain and the Red Devils program. They do a great job on Twitter and Facebook posting updates on their kids and highlights of their kids. So certainly follow them on there. Like I mentioned, follow us everywhere at Movin Chains. Moving the Chains brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Jerel, anything else for Coach? We'll let him go today.
Yeah, Coach Fountain, we just want to thank you so much for your time today. We've loved following your program since we've been doing our show. It's one of our favorites, of course. You have one of the better fan bases who really get after it and really tune in and just love high school football, love your kids, and love their community down there in Clinton. So we're happy to see you. I'll tell you this. I picked you guys to win the state title game last year, so I decided not to because I didn't want to jinx you this year because you guys had so much hype going into the season. So you can thank me a little bit for helping you get over the
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate it. Thank you for your time as always. Look forward to catching up with you this offseason and talk to you soon, all right?
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Set your kids up with a lifetime of financial success with Smart Start from Founders Federal Credit Union. Just like learning the rules of football, understanding money management is crucial. Our Smart Start products and educational resources help teach kids the basics of saving, budgeting, and smart spending. Give your young MVPs the skills they need to move the chains on their financial futures. Learn more at foundersfcu.com/smartstart. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Get ready for the ultimate South Carolina high school football experience with Movin the Chains. From previews to recaps, we've got you covered. Dive into our expert preview shows, predicting winners and sharing insights. Then join us post-game for the thrilling recaps, exclusive interviews, and highlights you won't find anywhere else. Plus, connect with fellow fans on our Friday night spaces on Twitter/X. No one covers South Carolina high school football like us. Join us at Movin Chains on all social media platforms and visit movinchains.com today.